Hey everybody, Chad Lefevre coming to you from the Most Important Conversations. Today we're going to talk about something that is going to massively open up something for you in terms of helping you actually accomplish more than you ever thought possible, having more fun while you're doing it, and delivering outcomes that align very closely and deeply with you. Now, how do you do that in life? It's the distinction between negotiating and creating. And so I've titled this talk today, Don't Negotiate, Create. What do I mean by that? Let's dig into what negotiation is versus creativity. So in negotiation, and we've all been told negotiation is something that you do when you want to get a particular outcome and you require other people's assistance or other organizational assistance or whatever the case may be. We negotiate in our interpersonal relationships. We negotiate in our romantic relationships. We negotiate in business between companies and organizations. And we've just sort of got it ingrained that negotiation is part of life. The reality is negotiation is highly, highly, highly ineffective at producing any new outcomes and is usually, in fact, a race to the bottom of what's truly possible. Let's look at what negotiation is. When we negotiate, what is it? It is I have something that I want to accomplish, and I, for whatever reason, believe, and it may be the case that I need something from you in order to accomplish that. You also might have something you're trying to accomplish, and you need something from me. However, in negotiation, what happens is both sides, as part of the way the game is played, are trying to give up the least amount possible from what is important to them in exchange for the maximum from the other person. And both sides are playing with this. So you can see already there's an inherent breakdown in the structure and system of how negotiation works. Because I'm trying to essentially manipulate the circumstances and the situation to get the maximum out of you. You're trying to manipulate the situation to get the maximum out of me. And both of us are trying to give up the least amount possible from what we have. Okay, so this is a really limited, finite game. And it doesn't produce great results. In fact, every single negotiation is going to result in something that none of us ultimately want, and that's compromise. Now, we've been taught that compromise is an important part of life, that we all need to learn how to compromise, and that, you've got to give up something in order to get something. But what about if we played a different game, not a finite game, but an infinite game, a game where we're not coming from scarcity, where we're not coming from lack. Now, I know that this sounds theoretical, philosophical, yeah, but that's just not the world we live in. Maybe you're thinking that to yourself. Not the case. We've found, and in TMIC, we have a process known as Design Lab and another process known as Design Summits. And also we have the methodology, which has been around for 41 years that we use, called Design Shop. Now, the methodology of Design Shop is a really sophisticated design thinking, creative process, probably one of the most successful in the world. It's been used by 55% of Fortune 100 companies. We use it for the companies and the organizations that we work with to guide them through a creation process versus a negotiation process. So let's get back to negotiation and creation to show the difference. So again, in negotiation, I want something from you, you want something from me. We want to both give up the least amount possible. And it results in compromise. In creativity, we're approaching working together from a different set of values and rules. It's not about withholding as much as possible and giving the least amount up while trying to extract the most amount possible from the other party. Instead, when we come together as creative collaborators, we're coming together and saying, I have a limited view about what's possible. This is what's important to me. This is what I can bring to the table, and we're fully disclosing of it. The other party's doing the same thing, and we create a new third way that didn't exist. See, in the negotiation side, there's only two options. There's I get as much as I can from you to advance my objective. You get as much from me to advance your objective. So we have two paths, and we end up with a compromise, which is less than both of us need. Okay, so we end up with less than we both need. And so you can see how this ripples out, and we end up creating so-called solutions that are really anemic and less than is required. In creativity, we're saying, here's what I've got, here's my limitations, here's what I bring. Other person or other party saying the same thing. And instead, we start to creatively collaborate to create something new, something possible that didn't even exist before. So it's where creativity changes 1 + 1 into 11 kind of thing, right? And we've seen this over and over again in our design shop work and in design lab work, where when people drop the framework or the premise of negotiation and enter with an intention of creativity, instead of getting compromise, we get something else. We get consensus. Consensus is when the two parties discover a third way that meets not only both sides' requirements, but actually expands and opens a pathway that they didn't even see before. And so creativity is just that. It creates new possibilities, whereas negotiation manifests and produces compromise. And think about the word compromise. We don't want to be compromised. Nobody likes to be compromised. And frankly, in a finite perspective, in a finite game perspective, compromise is really just a nice word for we failed to get what we needed to, but we got a little bit of it. And so why are we even playing this negotiation game? I don't know why companies negotiate with one another and within their organizations between different parties, because every single negotiation is going to land in a compromise. Start to think of negotiation as compromise, and that's not a good thing. I'm actually suggesting and challenging the notion. I'm suggesting that compromise is a sign of failure. If we have to compromise, it means we weren't creative. We weren't able to collaborate. We weren't able to get outside of our ego and our attachment to what we want at all costs, everyone else be damned. And this has created the world that we have. Compromise leads to a compromised world. Compromise leads to a compromised relationship. Compromise leads to a compromised outcome. Why would we ever want that? If you want to stop compromising in life, stop negotiating. If someone says, hey, let's do something together, or if you want to work with another company, then learn how to create. Come together as collaborative creators and create something new outside of the limited thinking that you had in terms of what was possible. You'll see enormous solutions expand before your eyes if you enter creativity, versus in negotiation, you'll see the little crumbs and things that you're left with after you've had to give up and they've had to give up, and I guess we'll just take this. It's better than nothing, right? Why are we limiting what's possible like that? Think about it even just in your own relationship. Maybe it's a friendship or a romantic relationship. If you stop negotiating with the other person, and therefore you're no longer having to compromise, you can create a relationship and a relationship dynamic that is far beyond what you're experiencing right now and what you ever thought possible. But the only way to access what's possible is to realize that you are a creator, embody your creative talents and skill sets, of which most of us don't even know what those are because they've been conditioned out of us. That's why we have whole life architecture at TMIC and Design Lab and the Design Summits, is to create a forum and a container where we can not only learn how to become creators again, and therefore no longer being victims who have to settle for compromise, but we can actually become powerful creators, create new possibilities, connect with and network with other people who are also there for the same reason, to create new possibilities. And we can actually start to advance things in our own life, in the lives of the people we care about, and in our companies and business that we never thought possible. So don't negotiate. Stop negotiating. If you're negotiating, you're accepting failure, you're accepting compromise, you're accepting a less than, very weak solution and outcome. Approach every would-be negotiation and suggest a third way. Let's create. Let's co-create. Let's collaborate together, and new perspectives, new perception is going to be the outcome of that. And you'll be amazed at what's possible if you show up as a creator and you learn how to become a creator again, and you learn how to use those creative skill sets versus always going in from a negotiation standpoint and just sort of tolerating the compromise that has become your life or your business. So for more information, go to tmicglobal.com, check out Whole Life Architecture, check out Design Lab, and we're there to help shift and transform you from a negotiator to a creator.